Watch you niggas spoiling movies. Yeah. Brandon Collins, that's me. And Justin Brown for your movie needs. Media popcorn. Woo! You haven't seen it, well, we're gonna spoil it. Spoil it in your face. That's your warning. So if you get pissed, it's all your fault. What is up, guys? This is Justin, and this is Medium Popcorn. Now, as you can see, it's only me, but Brandon is actually recording Drunk Black History right now. So if you're not on that, how dare you? But don't worry, you are here for this special Friday edition of Medium Popcorn. We have a special guest, and we have a special little thing to run because it's Halloween. So we're adding on the extra little tidbits that you guys love. And today we're reviewing like a documentary called Love and Betrayal on the Force. And to help us, well, to help me run through this thing is actually the director and one of the producers on it, Mr. Mark Roberts. How you doing, my friend?
Hey, man. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Pleasure is all mine, my friend. So when you reached out to me about this, and we were talking off screen a minute ago, I was just like, yes, I love true crime. Like, I love it. I listen to all these YouTube things about like all just like weird stuff, true crime. Like, this is like right up my alley. So I was just like, yes, let's get into this thing. So how did you get involved?
Well, say again?
I'm sorry, how did you get involved with this actual case?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been a filmmaker for a lot of years. I did a lot of indies, and I hadn't done a documentary before. So when I met Johnny Porcher, I was like, I don't really do documentaries. I don't really, I don't get involved in true crime stories. But when I met him and he told me his story, I was riveted. And it's funny because I was with my friend Mario Lopez. We were both at an investor meeting, and the investor happened to be related to Johnny. So when Johnny came in, we weren't expecting to meet with him, but when he sat down and told us his story, I sort of gravitated towards it because it was bizarre. Normally when you hear a true crime story, you hear a little bit more about someone murdered somebody and you're trying to figure out what happened, or the husband's crazy and killed somebody or is dating someone else.
Yeah, full on Lifetime.
Exactly. So this story that Johnny told was so much like a betrayal, especially because Johnny came from a law enforcement family. His uncle was a detective. His dad was a detective. His mom worked in gangs. To hear him tell a story of betrayal when he's literally the police is bizarre. When you should be able to figure out if someone's doing something illegal and in front of you and in your house.
Yeah,
and I
for 100%.
Yeah, so I freaked out and I was like, this is a story that should be told. It's odd enough to really attract an audience, and I think I think Angela, who he was in love with, is a fascinating subject.
Absolutely. See, Johnny, who's also in the military, correct?
He came out of the military and
that's when he joined the force.
His family did, yeah.
Yeah. So it's so interesting because I never realized that, like, well, first of all, Angela, she's a hottie. She's a pretty lady. And like when I first saw, the picture, I was just like, what the hell is she doing on the force? And I'm like, why would they put her in prison? So like, she was working as like a prison guard, I guess. When you first come out of the academy, she transitioned into the detention center. I was just like, this is the last person I would think that they would put in this detention center, but I guess it's part of the protocol. Everyone starts from there before they go out onto the beat. So like that was interesting, but like I have a few friends who are in law enforcement or like who have been in the military, like lifetimers, And typically they gravitate around other people who are in that lifestyle. So Johnny dating Angela, like, okay, that checks out. You know, so that right there, it made total sense to me. Now, I don't. Do you want to spoil this, or we?
No, I'm good. I'm good talking about it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so now for Angela to then become involved with someone in the detention center, and this guy is like a ruthless killer, and on top of that, you know, pretty high up in the Mexican mafia. I was just like, Angela, what's going on?
Yeah. Well, look, because we're on your special show, let's really talk about. Let's get into it, right?
Let's do it.
Yeah. If we really get into it, Angela was brought up, you know, in military, you know, going from station to station. She grew up, you know, with some hood rats. You know, she grew up with some people. She grew up in the element,
Yeah.
right? So I understand that she wanted to get out of that. I get that. You know, we all want to. Look, I grew up in East Los Angeles, right? This is in Los Angeles. It's the hood, right? So I grew up in that atmosphere. I wanted to get out. She wanted to get out. She did, you know. But one thing that I think lots of people agree with is she spoke and met with the guy in prison.
Oh, I know he went by the certain Tony. That's the kind of name that he went by.
He had various names, but let's just call him Tony. She met Tony at the detention center, and there was something about his rap, something about how he was, something about what he said to her that resonated, that brought her back to something that was comfortable for her.
Yeah.
So even though you've got this successful, you know, cadet that is now heading towards being a successful officer of the law and climbing up the corporate ladder, and everyone sees it happening, there was something about him that brought her back to a place that was home for her. I mean, that's I don't think there's any other way to put it. She felt comfortable with him, and there was something that he said and how he said it that made sense. And she was right back at home, and she was willing to risk it all for, you know, someone that sounded like maybe someone she grew up with. I don't know.
Well, and you know, and that's a crazy thing that she would risk it all, because like my question was like, what was the end game? I know like he was, I guess his plan was, I'm going to have her help me get out of the situation. And I guess in her mind, she's just like, oh, then him and I will be together. I mean, but like when it really comes down to it, are you going to then leave the force and then join, you know, with this guy's gang, you know, just try to be affiliated while still being a cop? Like there's so many layers. Like what was she absolutely thinking joining up with this guy? But at the same time, I also look at Tony, look at, you know, the pictures they provided of him and things like that. He's a handsome-ish guy. Handsome guy. I mean, probably he's lucky that he's in the Mexican mafia, and so high up, because going to prison and looking like that, he's not that big of a guy, so he's not scary.
Yeah, it could be trouble. But, you know, look, I spoke to him. This is not in the documentary, but I spoke to him 3 times from death row on the phone.
That's right. He's on death row. That's right.
Yeah. So I spoke to him, and he is very charismatic. He's a very cool guy. Like you talk to him and you feel like you're, you know, talking to someone that you could be friends with, go have a drink with. You know, very calm, very relaxed, very interested in what you've got going on. So I think when it came to Angela, I think she's super smart, by the way. I exchanged letters with her while she was in prison. So I believe she's very smart. I believe that she thought there's no way he's getting out of prison. There's no way that there's going to be any real relationship here. But I think she was hot for him. I think she thought, hey, this is sexy and fun and interesting, and I can never get in trouble. I'm an officer of the law.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? What's the worst thing that can happen?
So the question is, now my thinking, somehow, some way, Tony clapped them cheeks in prison. I just don't. I don't see how she would end up doing everything that she did if he didn't get a taste, you know? And if he didn't get a taste, Tony has grade A game. And we are as men, we are lucky that he's locked up in prison. Because I have to watch my wife around Tony.
I agree, man. I agree. Same here. I think, look, you know, one thing he said that I found interesting, because I spoke to him after the fact. He said that they had been flirting, and she comes into work one day with a wedding ring on, an engagement ring. And he looks at her and goes, "Oh man, take that thing off. I'm getting you a better one. I'm going to get you a bigger one than that." And then that's when Johnny in the documentary starts to say, she stopped wearing her wedding ring. We stopped having sex. I mean, there was a lot of stuff that occurred after that day. But look, I think she was a bit delusional, but I don't think, you know, I think we all ride that really weird line between reality and fantasy, you know, like I think she was really honestly fantasizing about a relationship with Tony, but I don't think she ever really thought that what was happening was real.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part, because, as a producer director working on it, I would watch the cuts off over and over and over again. And every time I would feel so bad for her. I would feel like if she had the right lawyer, maybe she wouldn't have gone to prison, because what did she really do? Really?
True. Well, I guess the fact is that being that she is a law enforcement officer, and then she, you know, almost complicit in this information going out there. Guys, you know, again, spoiler alert, she almost, you know, sends information that would lead to the murder of witnesses in Tony's case. So I think her being, you know, somehow wrapped up in that was just enough for them to throw the book. She got 19 years.
Dude, 19 years, a lot of years. And and I think you're right. And you probably are definitely more into the world of true crime and police than I am. I mean, I love the story. I don't know that I'm into the world that much, but you know, I think you're right. I think that when it comes down to it, right and wrong, legal, not legal, all that stuff, when it comes to the potential of life being threatened because someone says, I want someone dead, and you got those letters and your intent is to remove them from a jail where nothing is supposed to be removed. Nothing comes in, nothing comes out without us filing it and putting it somewhere, and she removed that. Yes, you're right. That in of itself is breaking the law at the highest level. Now, the content of what she had threatened Johnny's life, threatened detectives' lives, threatened the two witnesses' lives. So yeah, you're right. I mean, you know, but in her mind, I think she thought, I really do, honestly. I mean, I don't know her, but from all the time I spent on the movie, I don't think she would have. I don't think she would have taken those letters and gone and met with someone and paid them, and you know.
So I'm going to offer you this. Now, this is something that, you know, it's funny because, well, actually, two things. So I was just having a conversation with one of my friends the other day, and this is to Angela's point, or I was talking about Angela with, you know, where her mind was. We all have these thoughts, and some thoughts that one would consider to be fucked up thoughts. It's like but you would never do it. So, but people don't even want to hear you think, hear you say that you even thought about something. It's like, oh, you're a fucked up person, but like, I didn't do it. So like, the thing that she told the line between taking that step in the direction, and that's what got her in jail. So that's how I can see where you're just like, but she didn't actually do something, but she just did enough to get herself in trouble. Now, on the other end of that, would we feel the same way about Angela if she wasn't such a pretty a young lady? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like, especially with, within true crime, watching all of these stories, these cases where it's a handsome man, a beautiful woman, it's like everyone's guard comes down for them, which opens it up for them to be able to do, this terrible thing, commit this terrible act. And we're just like, oh, but I just can't see it in that person, because we all have the vision of, the man in the black cat, the monster, because, because that's what we think. We think this is what they look like, and she's, the exact opposite of that. And that's what I find very interesting, because like when I first saw her pop on screen, I was just like, Angela, you messing up, girl. You had so much more opportunity.
Right. She could have just left Johnny and, gone about her business,
Yeah.
if that was the case. But yeah, I agree. But look, let me ask you this, because this is something I think about a lot. While I was doing the documentary, I thought about it a lot, because it's a really gray area. If you think about, you meet someone, it could be a buddy, it could be a girl, they're solid, you connect on a spiritual level, on a brotherly level, whatever it is, and you're having a conversation, relationship, you feel really good when you speak to this person, and then a couple of weeks into the relationship, they do or say something that makes you feel odd, but yet you know them, like you connect to them, so they're asking you, and all of a sudden you're caught up in their drama, but you respect them, you like them, you connect with them. So is it possible that it can happen to anybody, depending on who it is that's pulling your strings? Is it possible that you can meet someone that you connect with, that you fantasize about, or that's your friend, and that all of a sudden they go like, here, throw this, think about when you were a kid, here, put this bottle of vodka in your backpack. What?
No, I think you're on the right track there, and I think that a lot of people get caught up in that place, especially if you're not paying attention. If you're not paying attention, if you're not, socially aware of yourself, and aware of the other person alongside of you. Because I'll tell you, a quick little throwaway story. I had just graduated college, just came back to my parents' house, whatever, grew up in New York, and I started talking to this girl, and this really pretty girl. She was an Angela, and then we were supposed to meet up. She ended up like kind of just disappearing. She ghosted me, and then she calls me the next day. She's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I got caught up. I was holding, I had something. I had my friend had drugs, and I was holding it, and then I got pulled over, and I'm just like, wait, what?" And then I find out later on that she had been to prison before. I'm just like, nah, get the hell out of here. But that's, I only was able to be like, okay, there's some bullshit going on here, because I've been around people who've I've heard those stories. I've seen those stories play out in the past. But if I was, just a bushy-eyed cocktail, kid coming out of college, and you have this girl who's just, feeding me these lines like, oh, I didn't do anything, I may have believed it. So I think it's also how you're raised, what you come up with, whether you're going to fall for that trap as well.
I agree. I think, it's also, Angela, and some of the history that we have, that we put into the documentary, was damaged, for whatever reason, taking care of her dad.
Yeah, because her dad died of colon cancer, and her mom just like up and left.
Yeah, so feeling responsible to help people that are hurt or damaged, and it's possible that her idea was that she felt very responsible for Tony, and he was taking advantage of that, and she didn't know how to back out of it, and her only sort of connection to it was like, you know what, I'm in love with this guy who's never going to get out of prison, and if I betray him and don't like take these notes or meet with his people or talk to his sister, or, she was talking to all kinds of people, but then then I'll betray him. But, and, you know, within her mind, she was thinking, well, I'm a police officer. I'm not going to get in trouble. There's nothing's going to happen. He's not going to get out of prison. And if I don't turn over these letters, then no one's going to get hurt. But I
It's
think
true.
she went too far. And look, 19 years is not a lot of time, you know? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, you know, obviously something could have gone severely wrong, but again, you know, when you hear someone like Yoshi, who was her supervisor, worked with her in the prison, getting emotional because he thought she had a career and a life ahead of her.
She's too smart for this.
Yeah, when you hear people like get emotional about what happened, and or say, you know, I was asking her to be in my wedding, you know, these are real people with real feelings for her, and if she was playing everyone, then she's magic.
No, yeah, that's true. And you know, it's not like she was around for 3 months. She was, you know, around in this family, around in the precincts, you know, for several years. You know, she went through the whole academy. She did what, 2 or 3 years at the detention center before she actually hit the beat. So, you know, it's not like, you know, we're saying that she held off a bunch of information, her true self, for like, you know, 2 months, you know, a hot minute. That's substantial time, built real relationships.
No, you're talking about someone who worked hard through the academy, went through boot camp like you do in the army. They survived like all of the mental and tests that you need to test to be a police officer, then survived in the prisons, and always with a smile on her face, and always, you know, great for her supervisors, and headed, you know, making enough money to buy a home with Johnny, and somehow that wasn't enough, and she just literally decided to throw it all away. I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's definitely, you know, it's a cautionary tale. I
For
believe it's a
sure.
cautionary tale. You watch this movie, and you're watching something that can happen underneath, right in your own home.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what it is. It better not happen in my home. My wife's earshot right now. If she tries some bullshit like this, I'm taking the house, the car, the kid, and the dog. I haven't got a dog. I'm going to buy one and take the dog away from her.
It's a crazy thing, man. It's a crazy thing. Love is a weird thing. But, you know, I will say this about Tony. I talked to Tony, good dude. I talked to the DA that was part of, you know, his court, you know, his hearings, and all of his dealings. And he said that, you know, he was the most charismatic gang member he had ever met in his life. He haven't had a nickname for him. So the lawyer would walk in, the DA would walk into the courtroom, and Tony'd be sitting there, and he'd look over at him. And of course he's prosecuting him, so he's on the other side, right? The guy walks in, he goes, "Oh, that's a nice suit. Like that suit. I have a suit like that." He's like, "Oh, you have a suit like this?" He's like, "Yeah, I got a suit just like that." And then after that, he would come in, and Tony would call him Slick. "Hey, Slick, what's going on? Good morning to you."
Yeah,
I mean,
Tony's a G.
super cool dude. And what was ironic, which the DA told me, I didn't put this in the doc, but he said that when they started talking about the case, and they started, the defense started saying, these are the people in the Mexican mafia, these are the people we're going after, this is where he fit in the line, that Tony would literally say, "Actually, you guys got that all wrong. That's not the way that goes. You got to put that guy there, put this guy over there." So he started correcting it all.
So the question is, was Tony trying to cut that deal? Did Tony cut some sort of deal? I mean, maybe there's a reason why, because he got an appeal at the end, or he's appealing his death row sentence. So like he has to have cut a deal. But then again, if you're cutting a deal against the Mexican mafia, Tony ain't gonna be here that long, because those guys don't play any games.
Well, there was a hit. I don't know if there's any more, but there was a hit on his life because, again, you know, this is the benefit of having shows like yours. The thing that happened is when he was in prison, he realized that Angela got arrested So he went to the DA in court and said, I'll tell you anything you want to know. What do you want to know? Just let her go. Release Angela, and that's the deal I'll make. You don't have to release me, but release her. Of course, they didn't do that, but he said it in an open court. So the next thing that happened was there was a hit on his life. Yeah. So he, even on death row, he's only allowed to be out for 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
He's in solitary.
Damn, that's solitary. I always found that to be just like, it's so fucked up because, you know, as humans, we need other people. And to be sitting in a box on your own all day, that just must be pure torture. I mean, COVID showed us all.
Especially that dude. And but you know, when I was researching him, I went online, and you know, there's like online dating services for people on death row.
Yeah.
And there's lots of women that contact him, and he told me he's like, you know, pen pals with people all over the world, including the girl that did a piece in the documentary about, like, she did an opera, she sold his art. You know, she went to visit him. There's a picture of her and him together.
Yeah.
He's doing just fine on that, you know, on that level, but he's incarcerated, and he will be for the rest of his life. And, you know, look, one thing that was interesting about him is that he said he was a good student. He was a normal middle class, you know, but what happened is when he got into the gangs, he was asked to do things, and it accelerated to the point where he just, you know, he had to kill somebody.
Yeah, I mean, you have to do what you got to do to survive, because you can't. Yeah. If you say no, then you have a bigger problem on your hands.
There was no stepping back from that, you know. So it's all, you know, Love and Betrayal on the Force has all of these roads. You know, you've got Johnny Porcher and his family. You've got, you know, Tony on one side. You've got Angela on one side. Everyone's sort of damaged in one way or another, and they all end up losing. Everyone ends up losing, you know, and some people lost their lives.
Well, you know, and to go back to Johnny, because, like, I understand where Johnny's head was at, because he's just like, you know, she could be just dating another guy. But then he found something worse, because when it really comes down to it, he's, you know, and let's say, not, you know, again, it's like, did Tony get them cheeks? And most likely not, because of being in prison and the way it would have been very hard for him to pull that off. But if we're going with that, then Johnny got cucked by figurative dick, not even real dick.
Right.
So it's like, it didn't even happen. Just the idea of it, you know, this fairy tale, that's what took his life with the woman that he loved away. And, you know, Johnny bought a 4-carat ring. Johnny was in love, you know. So it's like, that's rough, man. Like, I've been watching this, I'm just like, I feel bad for this dude. I feel so bad for Johnny, because his whole family, she was indoctrinated, his entire family, and then it's like gone just like that.
He loved her more than he loved himself.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm glad that he did the right thing and just turned her in, because, you know what? I don't know how many other dudes would have just been like, they realize what this whole thing, oh, this guy's the Mexican mafia. I mean, because of me, if I found that shit out, I don't want no parts of the Mexican mafia. I mean, right. So I may have just been like, yo, it's about time I move to San Francisco, right. You know? But at the same time, he's a cop, and he has that in, so he can do the right channels. If Johnny wasn't a cop, that's a different story.
That's a crazy thing. Like, if Johnny had not said anything and just left her, he would have been an accessory.
That's true.
So there was no way around it. You know, plus he was reading documents that said that he was going to be next.
Yeah, that's true.
Those documents had his name on them. They had his partner's name on them. You know, they had everybody sort of. He was going to take care of everybody, which is a fantasy, by the way, because of course you'd have to point it back at, you know, Hernandez. So it's a fantasy to think that they were going to take out all these people just because of the relationship between him and Angela. That wasn't going to happen. The Mexican mafia is very smart. They are a corporation of sorts. You know, they're not. If there's going to be a vendetta, it's going to be from the top. It's not going to be an underling saying, "Oh, take that guy out, take that guy out, take that guy out."
Yeah. When it really comes down to it, she was going to be used to get those witnesses out of the way. And then like, hey, thanks for helping me out. I know you're not going to say anything because now you're a part of this. You say something and you're pretty much going down with this.
Well, or she would have been gone soon after.
Well, yeah, that too. But and now just going back, if Johnny wasn't a cop, it's like, how does that story work out? Now Angela is a police officer and he's not. It's like, do the police? I wonder if a police officer would take that call seriously against someone who's seen very well within the community and such like that. Would they have taken it seriously, or is Johnny, being an officer of the law himself, was enough to people like, okay, we definitely have to look into this? But at the same time, she was kind of on the radar anyhow because she was the false name Sandra.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think, that's a good point. But I think if Johnny isn't a cop, they're investigating Hernandez anyway. So let's say Johnny wasn't a cop and they're saying, hey, this Hernandez guy's getting a bunch of power and we don't know from where. So Shumway taps those calls no matter what, whether Johnny's a cop or not. He's tapping the call. He doesn't recognize who this girl is. It's very possible that if someone dies connected to any case that Hernandez has, that they go, full FBI, CIA on her, find who that is because they got the cell phone. They've already got a way of finding her, and prosecute her for whatever involvement she has. So I think no matter what, they figure it out. But Johnny finding the letters just accelerated everything to a point that was crazy.
And that's what I was about to say, because if Johnny wasn't a police officer, someone may have died before this actually all came to light. And so him being an officer really saved some people's lives. And now they may know, but they had no idea that there was a guardian angel looking over them, because if not, like, they were going to be screwed.
I mean, one of the things that was so fascinating, like one of the story points that blew me away, and I spend a lot of time on it. There's music and there's thrilling moments, but when Shumway says, I knew Angela, I knew her. I'd been to barbecues with her. I'd been to parties with her. She was in the wedding. I knew her, but I couldn't recognize her voice when I called her on the phone to speak with her, that this was a dangerous thing she was doing. I didn't know who she was. I couldn't recognize her voice. And that meant that she was reverting to some kind of Chola language that she knew from before, because how could you not recognize someone that you know? You'd be like, oh, that's Angela. Hey, Angela.
She code switched, man. She code switched real fast.
She knew. Yeah. But that's a crazy thing, that she was willing, even after that. She knew Shumway was onto her. They spoke.
Yeah.
She knew. So even after that, she was continuing this odd behavior. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there was some, like I said, maybe there's some mental stuff there, or something. I mean, I don't know. But look, we all do some crazy things for love sometimes.
Not this kind of shit.
Yeah, if my wife showed up with letters, I'd be like, what are you doing? I'm out of here.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I don't even want to say it. I won't even put it into the world right now. Not in the stratosphere of realities. That's so crazy. And also being a guy who's in prison, a killer, and all of that. Like that's just it's madness. It's madness.
Do you think people get desensitized to it? Do you think that being around it, being in the prisons, I mean, because it happens a lot. It's not like she's the only one that falls for a prisoner. There's a lot of people in prison that fall for each other and get together.
Yeah.
And it's usually a secret. But is it desensitized? Are you desensitized by being around it so much that you meet? I mean, because we're just people, right? I mean, whether you're a killer or not a killer, you're just a person. So you can have a good personality and still kill 30
You know,
people.
I think 100% that's what happens. I mean, because like, you know, everyone talks about, you know, the video games, things like that, you know, kids with video games, like, oh, they're being desensitized by the violence that they see, right? But it's like they've already been desensitized by the violence that we see on television on a daily basis, the gun shooting, yada, yada, yada. That's actually far more desensitizing because they're playing it out in a completely different way, which is far more real, which makes it real in people's minds so they can see it.
Yeah.
They can almost, it's not out of the realm of possibility. So for a police officer who sees these people, every person that she's around on a daily basis has either killed somebody or done something so bad that they had to be put in a fucking cage. Absolutely, they have to be desensitized to that stuff. If not, to keep them up at night.
Yeah, I think one of the keys when you watch it, you know, you have. I'm curious. I think a lot of people do look at it and think, I either like Angela or I don't like Angela, because there also were people in the documentary that were like, she was crazy. There's no way they were in love. There's no way it was really happening. It was
Yeah.
a farce, and it was maybe some adrenaline, but at the end of the day, she's a criminal.
Well, you know what? I think the thing that really got me about Angela was when she started to change her appearance, her wardrobe, and everything, and she started losing a bunch of weight. So for me, I'm thinking, okay, the stress of all of this is getting to her.
Right.
But at the same time, you know, uh, to quote again, Tropic Thunder, she went full retard on, going into, you know, the lifestyle, you know, of a criminal, to the point where, you know, her family just started notice, like, yo, what's going on with Angela? And they're asking her fiance is like, is Angela okay? It's like, I don't know, you know, that whole business. So it's like she had to be torn in some way by this, because I feel like the weight dropping, you know, that was part of it. But at the same time, it's like, what was in her head? She's like, I'm a police officer, but at the same time, I'm gonna go get me some crazy black eyeliner and
Right.
and and get a tattoo on my face. Not she did that, but she might as well have.
Dude, she was playing in some weird waters. I mean, she was going to work early, dressed differently, parking somewhere where he could see her from his jail cell on the street, and opening her blouse and letting and having him have a look from outside, then going in, changing, and going to work like a normal person. I mean, yeah, it's too much. It's too much to take, to imagine that she was pushing the envelope that much.
You know what I gotta say though, Angela, other than to her fiance, she's a rider. She's a rider.
She really is.
If you want to do some criminal activity, that's the kind of girl you want, having your back. I mean, I guess any man would want a woman who go the extra mile for him. But unfortunately for her, the guy that she really wants to go the extra mile for is sitting on death row. It's just not the best idea.
The last thing I'll say about Angela is, I did, while I was doing the documentary, she was in prison, and I wrote to her. And she didn't respond. And I wrote to her again, and she didn't respond. And the third time I wrote to her, I decided that I was going to mention that Yoshi and some other people had some amazing things to say about her character.
Mm.
And that she had fans, that she had people that thought she was terrific and headed into greatness. So I wrote that in the letter that I wrote her, and I got a response. So it tells you a little bit about where she's at in her mind, right? A little bit of kindness, a little bit of, oh, it's about me. This is, someone said something good about me. I got her to respond.
Well, I think so. A little about, like, my younger brother, did some time, for some dumb shit he did as a young kid, and ended up doing like a good 7-8 years in prison. And one thing, like, I think everyone, once you're in prison, in their mind they think I'm a bad person because I'm around all of these bad people and nobody cares about me. But a little bit of kindness and somebody opening up and just say, yeah, people, there are still people out there that love and care about you. Then all of a sudden, the normal person switches. They start to flip open. They're just like, oh, wait a second. I'm a human being again. So I think it's the dehumanization of prison that turns, people into, I never like to call people animals, but it's almost a primal state of survival, to be in that place to say, it's like, okay, nobody cares about me. And so I have to worry about myself. And because of all these people in here, that's how they think. So I have to keep my head on the swivel and think like that. So I think it's just an interesting kind of mindset to even explore.
Yeah, it really is, and it's curious. I'm curious because so many people watch the movie and think different things. But one thing I will say is that when she responded to me, she did say, "Thank you. It's nice to know that I have some people that still consider me important." And but then she was very very clear and concise, which I found interesting. That she writes back and she says, "I appreciate that people still think good things about me." She goes, "But you have to understand, I don't want to relive that. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to get into it about what happened. I've lived that. It's over. I just want to go on with my life," which was brilliant, for her to say. But then the documentary comes out.
Well, yeah.
That can't be good. So
well,
it would have been nice for her to have her side.
Well, but at the same time, lucky for her, she's in a place where she doesn't necessarily have to deal with, not the outcry from it, but like I guess the consequences of the documentary and living with all that kind of stuff. It's she's in prison.
No,
it is
not.
what it is.
She's out.
Oh, she's out already?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Did she serve all 19 years?
She did 12 years. You got 12 years. She got 19, but she served 12.
Okay, so she got out on parole early.
She was a model citizen, as you would expect from Angela. She was, she was probably an outstanding
inmate.
And she got out early, and I believe that she's living her life and she's doing well. But I don't think it was a great thing that the documentary came out for her. I doubt that. I'm sure people recognize her, and look, I'll say this: I wish her well, because I don't think there was anything in that documentary that told me that she did anything but make a mistake in character and did some things that maybe she thought were not punishable in the way she got punished. She's not a lawyer.
Yeah.
So I don't, I think people make mistakes, and I don't think there's anything wrong with saying, like, look, I made a huge mistake and I paid for it, and that's where I'm at about it. And I wish she would come out and say that, because I think it would make her look good.
Yeah, I think the same way, because like you said, everybody deserves a second chance, and regardless of how dumb I don't know, if you didn't kill anybody, and luckily this didn't lead to a murder, because 12 years she wasn't going to see the streets in 12 years. But if you don't kill anybody, and even in some cases, if someone died, there may be a way for because everything is circumstantial. But everyone deserves a second chance under most situations. And when people discount you as a bad person forever because of some shit you did, especially if you were young, it's not fair. And there's a redemption story for everybody, and you gotta hope that there's a redemption story for Angela, because if not, how can there be a redemption story for me or any of us when we do something wrong?
Well, yeah, and you're being fair, because look, let's be fair. She left a lot of people in her wake, and a lot of people were upset, and a lot of people got hurt. But we don't have to like her. We don't have to. None of those people have to hang out with her. But if the system is, you come out of 12 years of prison and you're supposed to be headed towards being a better citizen of this country because you're out. She can go to any restaurant you and I go to.
Yep.
Then we've got to be on the side of that. She could actually be a good person. She could actually change her ways. Why not? Like, there's nothing wrong. That's what this is all about. She got out. It's done. She did her time. Let's go see her do some great stuff like everyone thought. I'm okay with that. I'm willing to go that route. Yeah, this documentary is a wicked story of betrayal and mistakes. But did some people think she was pretty awesome? Yeah. Did some people think that she was on her way to great things? Yeah. Did she, I mean, if she was my daughter, I'd be like, you almost killed somebody. You know what I mean? Like that. It would be like that. It'd be like, oh my God, like people almost died, you idiot.
Yeah.
Like that, like, right? I mean, what would you say?
Is Angela going to work in the prison system again? Most likely never again.
You don't want her. You don't want her.
No. And I think that she knows full well that she doesn't know she no longer belongs there. But and that's fine. Sometimes you gotta learn a little bit about yourself and take those licks.
And I hope people watching this, your fans, don't think that I'm making light of a very, very serious movie that is criminal, but I think it's fascinating that you can look at it and think, this was a person that you could maybe hang out with, have a beer with, and enjoy time with. That she would have been kind of a cool member of a party that you would have fun with, And and it's too bad that things went bad, and a lot of people got hurt. And I know all the people that she hurt because I interviewed them all, and they're all great people. So I guess if you have to measure it that way, she blew it. But but I do wish I hope the best for her. Johnny's doing
Johnny's
great.
Johnny.
Johnny's Johnny. He's doing his thing. He's working and working for Nicki Minaj and working for all these amazing people, private security.
I'm so sorry, Johnny. You have to work for Nicki Minaj.
He worked on with The Rock and with all these guys on Furious 8, Furious 9. He's busy. He's got a happy life. So I think if people can move on and just realize that stuff went wrong. Look. It was a heinous thing, but just going back for a second, just before I forget, did you ever watch the Robert Durst documentary?
No.
Okay, it's about it was a crime documentary about it was called The Jinx. You ever saw The Jinx?
No, I did not see The Jinx. I've heard about it. I have not seen it.
You're gonna end up cutting this out because I'm gonna say you really should watch The Jinx.
Okay, no, don't worry. I will watch it.
I'm gonna tell you, it's the best true crime documentary I've ever seen because of how it ends. And I won't tell you how it ends. I mean, everyone knows because he went to jail, but it's unbelievable. And what is interesting about it is that for the most of the documentary, I liked the guy. I liked him. I watched his interviews and I thought, I would love to I would drink a beer with that guy and probably appreciate his stories. But then in the end, he's a murderer, cold-blooded. But it's just fascinating to me that I deduced out of that documentary that I liked Robert Durst, who ended up being this cold-blooded murderer.
Listen, man, there was a guy that I grew up with who I knew in circles. Like I hung out with this guy all the time because just mutual friends, and he ended up being like a serial drunk driver, and he murdered, about 2 or 3 people, in accidents. I think he's in prison now, but it's just like, I hung out with that guy a lot. Like he was a good dude. Yeah, he went and did a bunch of piece of shit things, and like to the point where I think the one that he like went down for, he hit the guy and then he, shelved his car and he was slowly trying to repair it over time, so he didn't get caught. And, eventually, they ended up catching up with him. And it's just like, hey, just because somebody does bad things, that doesn't mean you can't like them at some point. but you don't have to like the things that people do. It's just a part of life.
Isn't
And
that something?
yeah, yeah. I
That
mean,
is
like,
something else, man.
but at the same time, you know, like I said, everybody deserves a second chance. He got his life together and he stopped fucking drinking and he finally gets out of prison. Is like he also deserves to try to live a normal life. And I know some people were like, no, he doesn't deserve anything. Like, no, I mean, if he's got breath in him, try to find some prosperity and some peace.
Look, I think if you live in this country, you have to appreciate the system. I mean, you don't have to agree with it, but you
Yeah.
can appreciate that that in some cases, if you do your time and you come out, that you may be able to be an important part of society again. And I think, Angela went through a lot as a kid, and I think she deserves an opportunity to take a look at that psychologically if she has to, speak to people about it, figure out what sort of went wrong, and why she, decided to connect with Hernandez. That's something she could figure out maybe. And I agree with that. A lot of people got hurt. I hope they heal. She got hurt. I hope she heals. But if she's out, then we got to wish the best for her because she's out here with us.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, we don't want her Breaking Bad again.
Yeah, we're at a bar together, and all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose.
Angela, I'm on your side, baby. I am on your side. So I'm gonna throw this at you. If you have an opportunity, have you watched I'll Be Gone in the Dark, the HBO documentary? You have to watch it. That's one of those docu-series. I was just like, holy shit. Yeah. Like, holy shit. That's it. I mean, again, I haven't seen.
Wait, what's it called again? I'm going to write it down.
I'll Be Gone in the Dark. So on HBO.
HBO, I'll Be Gone in the Dark. Okay.
Yeah. It's solid. It's solid. This is Patton Oswalt's wife. That one's about. But it's really good. That shit pulled me in, but be prepared. You may, if you're watching Wife, whatever, she may not sleep at night for a bit.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm probably gonna watch that by myself.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up. So, all right, Mark, tell us where can we watch the documentary? Tell my people where they can watch the documentary. Tell us about what you have going on, your Instagram handles, all that good stuff.
Okay, cool. So, Love and Betrayal on the Force you can watch on Google Play, YouTube Movies, Amazon Video, and I can't remember the other place. Anyway, you can find them. Oh, iTunes. You can find it on iTunes.
Okay.
You could find Love and Betrayal on the Force at Love and Betrayal on the Force, which is on Instagram. Me, I'm less interesting, but you can find me at iceroberts.com. I'm sorry, at iceroberts. That's it, right? Yeah, I'm so old. I don't know how to say these things. But I did a Christmas movie. I'm a really eclectic producer all of a sudden. I don't think I always was. I was always very indie. But this year, I did a Christmas movie with Mario Lopez called Feliz Navidad, which is going to be out on Lifetime on November 21st.
Some Lifetime stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So, yes, I had a Lifetime. Right? So that's very, very family, not very different than Love and Betrayal on the Force. And then I did a documentary while I was doing Johnny, I did another documentary called Carlos Alvarez Playing with Fire, which is about a Mexican immigrant that came here when he was very young and got involved with the Chicano movement, got involved with Cesar Chavez and painting murals. Was an amazing artist and sort of got forgotten a little bit. And then, of course, he died the year before Magic Johnson got AIDS because they didn't know what AIDS was, and he contracted the virus and died. And then years later, there's been this movement about Chicano art and about how it hasn't been categorized in the same way that all the other art was. And he emerged as one of these great artists that you should know. So this week, Thursday, October 1st, Netflix is starting to show Carlos Alvarez Playing with Fire, which is, again, very different than what I normally have done, but it's an amazing documentary. And, look, it's important to travel through these moments in history that have to do with, minorities and artists and immigrants and all of these great people that sort of got forgotten because they weren't categorized in the same way as America was,
100%.
And I'm proud of it. I'm proud of the work that it is, and I'm proud of him, even though he's not around anymore. I'm proud of his art and what he represents. So, I'm glad you asked me about that, what I've been doing, because these are important things, and I think Carlos Amaras playing with fire is very important. Johnny Porcher, Love and Betrayal on the Force is a cautionary tale, and yeah, I mean, luckily I got a lot to talk about. I did a lot of work during COVID. I don't know why.
Well, Mark, I want to thank you for coming on the show. Again, everybody go and check out the documentaries. You got the movie that's coming out, and of course, check out this Love and Betrayal on the Force. He dropped all that information. Be sure to follow Mark at Ice Roberts on Instagram. Do you have a Twitter account?
I don't.
Okay, so Ice Roberts on Instagram. All right, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mark, for joining us. And hope to get you back on another time. You can share with us some other stuff you got going on.
Anytime, buddy.
And also know that, unfortunately, most of the time, especially artists, visual artists and such, they always end up getting the love and praise after they're gone. Yeah, I don't know why it is, but it's like 9 out of 10, that's what happens. And it's just a damn shame. But luckily we have their art to freaking see their life through their eyes.
I agree. Watch the movie. Let me know what you think of it.
Oh, I shall. All right, brother.
All right,
have a good one.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Medium popcorn, we are two niggas spoiling movies. Yeah. Brandon Collins, that's me, and Justin Brown for your movie needs. Medium popcorn, woo! You haven't seen it, well we're gonna spoil it. Spoil it in your face. That's your warning. So if you get pissed,